The RStudio environment is divided into several windows. So the windows you would see when you first start the RStudio is the big one is the console video, where you can write in commands. In some other applications you might switch here to view of the terminal or jobs, but we're not going to use it for this course in R. Then you have the environment window, which might also show history and connections if you're connecting to external databases. The environment is just a list of all the objects, and we're going to talk about the objects at some later point. And the third window here on the lower right side is a window that contains either a list of files. Here the only file is the projects we are currently working on. The plots will appear here. We might manage packages here, and we'll discuss packages at some later point. Help is displayed here. So this is this. Now let's just turn back to the console. Console is where you would enter your commands. As you'll see shortly, this is not the most practical way, and this is not how we are going to do it, but everything is actually passed to the console and executed here, even if we do this some other way. Now, most of the R packages, including the base package, so basically once you installed the RStudio or R, what you got was the R base package, which comes with pre-loaded quite an extensive list of classical data. If you want to know what kind of data you have, you might simply type here in the console data and just an empty brackets, and you get a list of this data. Now what you could do is take one of these data sets and load it into memory. Now nothing is loaded into the memory, so the environment is still empty, but we might go and load it into the environment. So for example, let's take a classical data set of data for cars coming from the Motor Trends magazine, dating back to 1974. So that's the empty cars. So data, and we might put here empty cars. Empty cars, like this. Now, as you can see here, the empty cars now appeared here in the environment because data called this data set to load into the memory. So now this data set is loaded in the memory. Now if you want to see this data set, one option is to simply write this name. Just write empty cars, like this, and you can see this data was displayed here. Now RStudio also allows you to edit the data, to say it. So basically, if you go here in the environment, if you double click on the data, you might get the data here, and you get the option of, well, this is mainly just so you might order it by some category and so on. Okay, so this is how you can view the data. And as you can see here now, a fourth window opened in the environment, and this is where you are actually storing some sort of files. And using this part here is a much more convenient way of entering commands into R. Now there's two ways on how we can do that. A classical way is to do this via a script. So essentially we might go here and say like file, new file, and say like new R script. And essentially instead of writing the commands directly in the console, we can write the commands here. So for example, we might just say like empty cars, empty cars. Select it. And then you might just run this, and if you look down in the console, this is passed into the console and printed there. Now we might do something else with this. For example, we might say summary of empty cars, like this. Click run, and the basic descriptive statistics for this would be displayed. An even better way of doing it, but it will require for most of you to allow to install some packages, is instead of using the script, to use a markdown file. You select markdown. Now at this point, some of you, if you tried this at home, you might have been asked to install some packages. So SPSS RStudio suggested that you install some packages. So if you click yes, you just have to wait for a few minutes and it will install some packages. If you clicked no, well, try to do it again, restart your RStudio, because you need those packages for the R Markdown. So you might just go here, just title it something, you can call it test, for example. Okay. And a markdown is basically a compilation of comments. Comments might be found between, so if nothing like this, this is comments. Then you have chunks of code, and you might also have some outputs. And from a markdown, you can actually export this into Word files, PDF files, or HTML for further use. So for more information on markdown, just go to the address here and read more things about that. So these were some basics about the RStudio environment.